I'm going to start calling Pablo Torre Parker Lewis because the man can't lose. Bonus points if you get that reference. Oh my gosh, the Kawhi Leonard situation takes another turn. Is this the proverbial smoking gun that we've been looking for in this situation? How much trouble are the Clippers in? What should the punishment be if the NBA finally looks at all of this evidence and says, this is more than circumstantial? Let me know in the comment section down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications as well. Let's dive in to this. So all throughout this process, the question has always been simply, why wouldn't the Clippers just keep aspiration afloat? If they had done all these underhanded, clearly illegal relative to the collective bargaining agreement, not illegal in the broader, national sense, but illegal according to NBA rules, activities by funneling money to Kawhi Leonard, why wouldn't they just continue funneling money to aspiration every time they got in trouble to make sure that the company did not go bankrupt and these documents did not become public knowledge? Well, that is precisely the point that Mark Cuban has been making. Like, why wouldn't the Clippers just keep funneling the money? Well, it turns out they did. All the stuff that was being said to support the Clippers in this situation, or at least part of the argument to support the Clippers. Well, wouldn't they have just continued to give money to aspiration to prop them up and make sure that they don't go bankrupt? Yeah, that actually happened. Oh my gosh. Let's take a look at this. Absolutely unbelievable. Again, this is Pablo Torre finds out. Parker Lewis can't lose. Check this out.
Read Mark Cuban's tweet.
While Pablo is focusing on the $2 million and $50 million from Wong Balmer, he didn't really get into the millions of dollars in carbon credits that were purchased by the Clips and the arena. I bring this up because it would have been a lot easier and a lot safer if he was trying to circumvent the CBA to just buy more carbon credits. They were almost all margin, as Pablo correctly pointed out, so they would have created the cash immediately to pay KL2.
And so what Mark Cuban is saying there does actually make a ton of sense. I must have...
It does. It does make a ton of sense, right? Because they're carbon credits. You want to funnel money into this company. You want to prop them up. You want to keep them afloat. You want to provide money to eventually get sent over to Kawhi Leonard. You just buy more carbon credits from them and say, oh, we're offsetting carbon. There we go, right?
Because Aspiration, for those not familiar, was functioning as a broker for carbon credits. According to my sources, they were charging $1 a tree. That's 5 to 10 times what it costs to plant a tree, the 10 to 20 cents. Reportedly. And so that is the margin that Mark Cuban is referring to in his tweet. Just get more carbon credits. All that margin is what you'll use to pay Kawhi Leonard. And so the piece of paper, Dan, that I would like you to turn over, which nobody else has reported yet.
At the top of the...
So again, the cost 10 to 20 cents to plant a tree. Clippers are paying, everybody else paying $1 a tree, essentially. So saying that margin between, that would go to Kawhi.
Page, I see the Clippers logo. And it says East West Bank, and it says payment to Aspiration Sustainable Impact Services, LLC. Please allow this letter to confirm approval by LA Clippers, LLC, of a withdrawal of $20,961,382 from escrow account number blank. The withdrawn amount will be used to fund the following carbon projects. June 14th, 2022.
This letter that you just read says that they're withdrawing $21 million to fund carbon projects. And then it is signed at the bottom, Dan, for the record here, by who?
Is that the chief financial officer?
That is the chief financial officer of the Clippers. And this, I'm told, was enough to not only pay Kawhi Leonard, obviously, it was enough to hit its fundraising target. It was enough to keep the company afloat 2 weeks, Dan, before Kawhi's initial no-show payment was due on June 30th, 2022. And so, according to two sources that I've spoke to who had direct familiarity with this $21 million carbon credit deal with the Clippers, it was agreed to and put into motion very promptly. I am told that Steve Ballmer and the Clippers, their executive team, had heard Aspiration's sales pitch for the $21 million purchase just, quote, a couple weeks before the June 14th, 2022 letter came in, as you're holding it in your hands. And my sources found this very memorable for a contract of that size in particular, because it's an enormous deal. And to quote one of them, the money came in quickly. They didn't sit on it or anything. And so instead of us connecting the dots here, I'd like to ask source number 2, former senior executive in Aspiration's finance department, to come to the stage and explain what might be the missing piece here. So what did you think, source number 2, when you saw what Mark Cuban had been tweeting about how if you were to circumvent the salary cap and you were a carbon credits company, you would do this?
They did that. I mean, literally, he described one of the few ways that the Clippers and Ballmer got money into aspiration. He literally described exactly what they did. So, I mean, he's right. He's completely correct. That would be one of the avenues that you would use to circumvent the cap.
I don't know what Mark Cuban wants in terms of a paper trail, but something with the Clippers logo signed off by the CFO of the company, like that's pretty strong documentation.
All right. So I've been asking the same question. Like, what is it going to take? Does it need to be like a letter from Steve Ballmer saying recap circumvention being sent to aspiration? I mean, this is kind of one step short of that. This is more money. We're going to get into exactly how much money the Clippers pumped in to aspiration. Remember, aspiration being a sponsor of the Clippers as well, over $300 million deal. But how much money the Clippers pumped into aspiration? We'll get to that next.
Ever heard of the Sleeper app? Well, here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper. But the app offers so much more. There's live stats, real-time updates, and visualization on all stats. There's a news feed where you can get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams. And a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. So download the #1 sports app and experience it yourself today. And when you do, use promo code Bulletin and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
Okay, take a look at this. So this is, again, Pablo Torre, man, the guy does not miss. So take a look at this. So Ballmer invests $50 million into aspiration. A couple weeks later, the Clippers, not even a couple weeks later, the Clippers announce the aspiration deal. Now they're going to be a sponsor and all that. Right, beginning April, the Clippers suddenly fund $3 million in carbon credits, then followed up by $32 million in carbon credits just 3 days later. Then suddenly, so $35 million invested. Oh, we're going to give Kawhi $28 million. Huh. That's interesting. Then the Clippers kick in another $21 million. And then Kawhi Leonard gets his first payment. And then it's looking like, maybe aspiration won't be able to pay Kawhi Leonard. And suddenly Clippers minority owner invests $2 million. Suddenly Kawhi Leonard gets $1.75 million. Then Ballmer invests again, another $10 million. He's already invested $50 million. He invests another, personally, $10 million. And this is when, look, late March 2023. So Ballmer invests another $10 million weeks before a government investigation is going to kick off into aspiration and everything that's going on here, into this whole situation. So all of that, and apparently that $10 million more was purchased at $23 a share when his initial investment was $11 a share. And so he more than doubled the price here of his investment when the company was already in default, was like teetering on the brink. Why would you pay more in that situation? You put in $50 million at a lower valuation. Why would you then, as the company is like on the edge of the cliff, then kick in another $10 million at a higher valuation for a company that's about to go under? Again, it makes no sense. Now, there is a fallacy when we look at this and we assume that because he's a billionaire, he's going to do everything right. He's naturally going to make the smart decision, right? Because we make that equivalency. We go, oh, he's a billionaire, therefore he must be smart about stuff like this. No, people make mistakes. People make mistakes all the time, but there's just so much stacking up here. I mean, here we've even got, again, via Pablo Torre, text message from Dennis Robertson, texting Joe Sandberg saying, Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Just a heads up, things are still dragging. Mike has the contract for 14 days now. Haven't heard back. Just keep you informed. So, like saying, hey, we need these payments. I assume that's what's in reference of here. Man, now, can the Clippers look at all this stuff and just say, well, I mean, yeah, we were buying carbon credits. That's what we were doing. It was all about staying carbon neutral. Wasn't about funneling money to Kawhi Leonard. Nope. Wasn't about propping up a company that was about to go under, that if they went under, bad stuff would come out. And it does beg the question, like, if that's what the Clippers were doing, and Steve Ballmer, I've said it before, if his wallet is invulnerable, his money supply based on his net worth is just about endless, why would he not just continue to prop it up? And was this investigation into aspiration enough to where he finally said, all right, we can't keep pushing money into this company to keep them afloat? Maybe again, but I think the Clippers could still try to argue that they were actually just purchasing carbon credits. But man, the farther into this we go, and the more evidence that mounts that something was going on here, something fishy was happening, it's just shocking. I mean, again, this is exactly what Mark Cuban was saying. Like, well, wouldn't they have just done X, Y, and Z then in order to keep aspiration afloat? Why would you ever let aspiration go under? Wouldn't you just continue to funnel more money into them? And now it's, again, they can argue that it was all just to really purchase carbon credits and all of that. But man, this was not just aspiration becoming a partner, a sponsor of the Clippers. The Clippers and Steve Ballmer put a lot of money into aspiration as well. Total of $118 million being put into this company. So if you want to look for the smoking gun, well, why wouldn't they just do this? Why wouldn't they just keep them afloat? Kind of looks like they were. Kind of looks that way. And we'll see what the NBA's investigation turns up in this situation. But my goodness, everybody, this has more twists and turns than I think we've ever seen. This is going to go down as an all-time NBA story. This investigation, this is absolutely unbelievable. And I've said it many, many times. I'll say it again to close this out. If the NBA hits a point where they have met the burden of proof, and I know for a lot of you out there, you're saying, yeah, we're there. We've already seen it. It's already happened. We know the Clippers did it. We know something bad was going on here. I don't know where the NBA's level is in all of that. And what is the Clippers' explanation for all of this? All we had was Steve Ballmer from the Clippers side. All we have is Steve Ballmer saying a lot of I don't knows. I don't know. I got frauded too. They're the bad guys. It was them. I don't know. I don't know what happened. We introduced Kawhi to aspiration. I don't know what happened after that. I have no idea. I heard they made a deal. I have no idea what the deal looked like. I don't know how much players make on endorsements. I don't know. Right? That's all we have from the Clippers side. So I'd be curious to learn more about how the Clippers would rebut this type of evidence mounting now against them in this situation. But if the NBA's burden of proof is met, if they say, yeah, there's too much of this evidence to sweep this under the rug, there's too much to dismiss this, drop the hammer. Mjolnir striking from the skies. Adam Silver has to. This could be the defining moment for Adam Silver's tenure in the NBA. That's what we're building to right here. Because what's going to happen, everybody, is this is going to set the precedent. This will set the This is not just about the Clippers. It's not. It's not just about Kawhi Leonard. It's not. This is about setting the precedent for what happens in these situations. Because we haven't seen this before. Joe Smith is one thing. This is a whole different level. If this turns out to be true, this is a different level than anything we've seen before. So, Adam Silver, this is about setting the precedent. This is about putting the fear of God into any NBA team from maybe even considering trying something like this ever again. That's what needs to be done here. If that burden of proof is met. You don't want to be a league where teams are finding underhanded ways in order to funnel money to players in order to circumvent your salary cap, because that is a house of cards. Your whole system would come crumbling down. Everything that you've worked towards. And frankly, I was not a proponent of the new collective bargaining agreement. I thought it went too far. I thought it was too heavy-handed. And you know what I'll say? I think a lot of teams have done better than I would have thought with it. They have done a lot to get around the rules, the restrictions, and I'm talking about in creative ways, not in underhanded ways. Teams have become very creative with how they involve multiple teams in trades, how they're getting their jobs done, even within this new cap environment, this new two-tier apron system that we've got working in the NBA. They've done a phenomenal job, and I give them a lot of credit, and I did not anticipate them doing what they've done in terms of getting creative and finding ways to make moves happen. But all of this has been under the umbrella of this new look NBA, this NBA that is more focused on parity, right or wrong. Right or wrong, you can make an argument that the era of super teams, killing that was a mistake for the NBA and for NBA viewership, which is effectively what the new collective bargaining agreement did. But the bottom line is we're now entering a new NBA era of parity, and we have been in this era for the last few years now. And again, I give credit to teams for how they have adjusted, how they've reacted and responded to the new rules. But if the Clippers are considered to have done something wrong here and they get a slap on the wrist, that will simply embolden teams to go around those rules, to say, well, if we can do this with just a slap on the wrist, let's all start finding other third companies, right? For our owners who have billions upon billions of dollars now. Nobody's got Steve Ballmer money, but we've got billions upon billions of dollars. Let's find third companies to route money through that if it's just a slap on the wrist. And let's use that as a way to make sure the players come to our team. And I'll tell you what, if the Clippers get a slap on the wrist, the next time a player takes a discount, eyebrows will be raised. There will be all kinds of questions about exactly what was going on and what money is being funneled towards that player. And you simply cannot have that. You cannot have that in today's NBA, not if Adam Silver is ever going to see the true vision, and the NBA, the Players Association, is ever going to see the collective vision for the current league structure come to fruition. All right, everybody. Give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Obviously, we will be covering this as this continues to develop, but make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Pablo Torre, Parker Lewis, can't lose. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Exactly what Mark Cuban said you would have evidence of if the Clippers were doing something underhanded. Well, here it is. Here it is. Will be interesting to see how this moves from here. Again, hit that subscribe button. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.